Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to IG Nova. Today we have a new video for checkpoint series. In the physics part, we're gonna study thermal energy, heat, part 2. We're gonna continue with our conduction, convection, radiation, heat energy, thermal energy, how they transfer. If we have any type of question, we're gonna explain it. It's worksheet, only for multiple choice, and we're gonna discuss why we choose the right answers. Question 1. The principle that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only change it from one form to another form. This definition is just for conservation law of energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it just transform from one form to another form. So, the law of energy conversion, nope. The law of conservation of energy, yeah. So, I'm gonna go for B. Question 2. A solar panel on a house converts. Solar panel depend on sun. It must transfer light energy into electrical. Yeah, electrical, heat, chemical, into anything cannot be. It just use light energy comes from the sun. Question 3. Which of the following is renewable energy source? Renewables that always exist, use themselves, wind, coal, oil, natural gas, or are fossil fuels? They are non-renewable energy sources. Question 4. Which one is a fossil fuel, not renewable energy source? Fossil fuel, we just said it's coal. Question 5. A battery and a flashlight converse. The structure of the battery, we know that it's composed of chemical substance. This chemical substance converted into electrical to operate any device we want. So I'm gonna go for A. Question 6. The energy stored in gasoline or food. These types of energy, they have a chemical substance. So chemical substances, so I'm gonna go for A. Question 7. The sun produces a huge amount of energy by the process of. While the sun, we know that there is a nuclear reactions happen in the sun, nuclear fusions happen, so that release heat and light. So I'm gonna go for nuclear reactions, fusion, which is A. Question 8. In hydroelectric power plant. Power plant it's a power station. Falling water is based turbine. The turbine then drives generators that convert water energy into electricity. It's conversion of kinetic energy, which is moving water into electrical. Yeah, moving water down, make turbine spin. So I'm gonna go for A. Question 9. When a ball is dropped and bounces, it never returns to its original height. This is because the sum of its energy is, if you have a ball and you drop it to the ground, it will bounce back, but not the same height before. Why? Because I have here some loss of energy that happens because of here some waste energy in sound. Some waste energy, sound you hear is an energy. Where it comes from? From this collision. And heat also released. When the ball becomes here, it will be hotter, okay, after it left the ground. Why? Because this makes release heat because of collision. So converts into heat and sound during the bounce, yeah, it's it. As the losing of the energy here, so they will not back to the height, same height before. This will not happen because of this losing energy. Question 10. Which method of heat transfer doesn't require matter or can travel through space? Through space, like from the sun to earth, it comes by rays, which is infrared ray, that comes as a radiation. No conduction, no convection. Question 11. In liquids and gases, heat is mainly transferred by liquid and gases. Heat can transfer by both, but mainly by convection. Question 12. A heat transfer through solid, like a long metal rod, occurs by a long metal rod, electrons transfer, vibration happen, so it will be conduction through solids. Question 13. A metal block feels colder than a piece of wood has the same raw temperature because the metal is better for the metal, so it's a good conductor of electricity. Of heat. Conductor of heat draws heat from your hand faster. Instead of heat cannot, reflector, source of cold cannot be. Question 14. Which of these materials is the best conductor of heat? Best conductor of heat, copper, metal, plastic, wood, iron. No, it's a copper. Copper, by the way, is the best conductor for both heat and electricity. Question 15. Why does hot air rise? Why hot air rise? If you remember when we studied that, we said that density decreases when it's heated. So hot air becomes heavier, cannot be. Hot air expand, yeah. Become less dense, yeah. It's spread upward by a cooler air. That's it. Question 16. Which surface will absorb heat radiation the best? The best absorber, if you remember from previous video, it's a dull, matte, black surface. Question 17. The Earth receives heat from the sun primarily from the sun. We just said it's a radiation because it can travel through space. Question 18. If you hold one end of metal rod in a flame, the other end soon becomes hot. Which process is primarily responsible? For metal rod, solid. So I'm gonna go directly for conduction, which is A. Question 19. Pot and pan handles are often made of wood, plastic, because they are these materials. Wood and plastic, they are insulators. Don't allow heat to transfer through, so conduct it quickly. It's not a good insulator, yeah, and don't conduct heat well. Keeping the handle cooler, yeah. So I'm gonna go for B. When air is heated, the density will decreases. Air expanding moves up. Question 21. A vacuum empty space between the walls of the thermos. C. For the thermos, it's a double glass here and a vacuum between it. Why? This space help thermos to do what? To prevent heat transfer by. Heat cannot transfer by. Conduction and convection, no air particles to transfer heat yet. This is the space now. This is the vacuum. This vacuum, don't allow heat to transfer, but it cannot prevent only radiation. Can prevent radiation because radiation happens through space and vacuum. While conduction and convection, they surely prevent that. Question 22. In which situation will convection not occur? We know that convection happens in liquids and gases. So, when you have a beaker, with option A, heating a beaker of the water from the top surface. If you have a beaker, it has air molecules, water molecules here, and heated it from the top. When the heat comes from the top, I know that hot air moves up, or hot molecules moves up, and cool molecules moves down to make a convection current. So, what's gonna happen to these water molecules at the top? Is there any chance for them to go down to make a convection current? I remember convection current cold molecules moves down, hot molecules moves up to make this convection current. Is there any chance for them to move down? Cannot be. They will evaporate here. But no convection will happen. So convection cannot happen in this situation. I'm gonna go for A. You need to understand and explain to yourself the whole choice. Maybe anything can happen. Here, it gives you from the top surface. While from the bottom, no, from the bottom, it will make a convection current. Warm air near ground rising into cooler air, rising of hot air, so this convection occurs. Water heating on the stove with the bubbles rising, also water heating on the stove, it makes a convection occurs here. But in convection cannot occur. Question 23. Why cannot convection happen in a solid piece of metal? For convection, you must have a free or slightly free molecules able to move up and down due to heat temperature. So, as a metal, which is the molecules are very tied up, packed, there is no any chance for molecules to escape. So the parts of the solid are locked in a place and they cannot flow. Yeah, they cannot flow. The only thing they can do is screaming and vibrate in their places. While electrons can move free, but molecules or particles cannot move. Molecules or particles, they are locked in a different space. Question 24. A hot air balloon rises into sky because the heated air inside is less dense. Yeah, air balloon, hot air, less dense, lighter, yeah. Then the surrounding air, yeah, so they move up. I'm gonna go from there. Question 28. When you stand a few meters away from a campfire or a heater, you feel warmth mostly due to if you have a heater or a campfire and you stand here, heat will transfer in the same level by radiation makes it blended. So I'm gonna go for radiation. But if you put your hand on this fire, like if you have a fire here, and your hand is here, so in this case, it's a convection, not radiation. Question 26. Which cup would keep hot drink warm for longest time? If you have a cup here, this cup, what is the best matter, this substance, this cup can made of to keep it warm for a long time? Surely, it cannot be metal. Why metal cannot be? Because metal allow it to flow. So, cannot be metal cup. A foam cup, which is insulating, yeah, because foam is a very big conductor. Doesn't allow heat to flow through. So, I'm gonna go for it. Question 27. If you stir soup with a metal spoon, it's a metal spoon and wooden spoon. So you have two spoons now, metal and wooden. The metal spoon handles get hot quickly, but wooden handles stay cooler. This is because conductivity. Metal is a good conductor, wood is a bad conductor. That's heat to your hand, but what is a poor conductor? I'm gonna go for it. Question 28. Which scenario is an example of heat transfer by convection? Warm water rising and the cooler water sinking in a pot that's heated from below. Yeah, from below. And you have here a pot heating, hot water rises, and cooler water goes down. So convection current happens here. So A, which is convection. Question 29. Which scenario involves heat transfer mainly by radiation? First choice. Feeling the warmth of a fireplace when sitting across the room. If you have here a heater and you sitting across the room, heat will transfer in the same level, not up by the hot air moves up, it's a convection, but in the same level, the only way is radiation. So I'm gonna go for A. Question 30. Which of this involves heat transfer by conduction? By conduction, it happens for solids. So for A metal spoon's handle gets hot from soup by direct contact? Yeah, must be. Question 31. Heat always flows spontaneously from hotter to colder objects. Question 32. Radiators, heaters in room are often placed near the floor so that, at the room they placed near to the floor because of a warm air they produce for rise and circulates with a cooler. Molecules make convection current, heat the room. Yeah, this is it. They conduct heat through the floor cannot be. They redirect radiate heat to the ceiling cannot be to stay out of the eye level for safety. That's not also. So right answer is it. Question 33. If you had two identical cups of water, one with black surface and one with a shiny silver surface, which would cool down faster by radiating heat? Which one to radiate faster, to lose heat faster? It must be black cow. Because black is a good absorber, the best absorber, and best emitter. For that, for option A, the old black cow would cool faster, better radiation emission. Yeah. So it's A. Question 34. The inside of a vacuum flask thermos is usually shiny silver. The shiny surface helps to reduce heat loss by, for a thermos here, if you have a thermos from inside, it's shiny. Why shiny? To prevent or decrease the rate of losing heat by radiation. Why? Because radiation will infrared rays will goes back, reflected back. So that's why most of time it's our shiny silver inside. For A, reflecting heat radiation, they reflect heat radiation, reducing radiative heat transfer, which is radiation. So I'm gonna look. And now we are done with this worksheet. See you next time with IG Nova, more worksheet for checkpoint and IGs. Assalamu alaikum.